One of my million pages. Okay, we did it.
Right.
Hi, everybody. Okay, so look who I have here tonight.
Hi.
This is my husband, Benjamin.
And
Hello, Linny.
what's the
Hi.
what's the picture? It's not
It's not what?
it's not us.
Yeah, it is.
No.
Oh, you mean it's like delayed?
It must be.
Yeah, so this is
Oh.
delayed.
Oh, okay. Oh, I
Hi,
see.
Renate. Hi,
Hi.
Susanna. Hello, everybody. So I brought my husband today, the master profile writer. So yeah, so this is my husband, Benjamin.
Hi. Nice to meet you.
All right, we are going to share this on a couple of pages. So give me a moment. Yeah, the puppy is big now. He is so big. All right, I'm going to share this to a couple of places. Come join my husband, Benjamin, and whoopsie, I'm not doing very well. Come join my husband. This takes a second. Benjamin, whoopsie. No, no Grammarly. Stop that. Benjamin and me for a lively discussion on how to write the perfect profile. All right, so anybody who is in my coaching program knows that this man right here writes the most fabulous online dating profiles. There is not a person out there who writes profiles as good as my husband.
Thank you.
And, you know, there's a difference between someone who thinks that they have an idea of how to write a profile or just somebody who writes profiles and somebody who's an actual writer. And Benjamin just seems to have magic in his poetry, in his words. I hate being taller than you, honey. Okay, I'm going to go down. So we are going to talk, or Benjamin's going to join me today to talk about how to write the perfect online dating profile. So, babe, you've written a couple of a bunch of these now. And what are some of the elements that make up a truly brilliant profile? Because, you know what, let me just say that when my women in my 12-week course, they will submit a profile, you know, and then they'll write it according to the way I ask them to write it. And then they send it in, and this man here works his magic. So, honey, talk a little bit about your process, what what you're looking for, and, you know, what goes on. Like, how do you write these amazing profiles?
Well, I write it from a man's perspective because it's really, the profile is directed towards men. And so they really want to visualize what the relationship is going to look like. And also what the woman can offer the man in the relationship. So very often profiles are written where people go into detail, women will go into detail about what they like and foods they like and activities and how they like to spend time with friends and family. And sometimes it appears that there's no room for a man to fit into their lives, you know, because they've got everything filled up and they don't want to be plugged into someone else's life, you know, their family, their friends. They have their own family, their own friends, but they're really looking for a relationship, you know, with this person,
with this woman.
Yeah. And so they really want to be able to visualize what it's going to be look like, you know, in a month, in a year, in 15 years from now. So very often the first couple sentences are meant to get someone's attention.
So give some examples. Like what do you put in the first, like what do you put, babe?
Well, it could be something like if a woman will list a series of of characteristics that how she would describe herself. And she might have 5, 6, 7 characteristics like funny, loyal, honest, trustworthy, adventurous, energetic. And it might start with, have you been looking for a woman who is energetic, adventurous, loving, sensuous, and ... Well, you found her. The only thing missing is you. And I want to know all about you. And first, let me share some things about me.
So one thing that I want to say is that he usually starts with some kind of real, welcoming, like very warm and welcoming. Hey, you found me, or
right.
Hello, it's so nice to meet you. But just some kind of greeting, as if you were actually meeting, and if you met in a at a party or whatever. But it's kind of like a wow, hi there.
Right, and also it can be a great filter, because if someone absolutely wants marriage, let's say that they're of an age where they want kids, and time is important, and they don't have time to waste on dates that aren't going to lead to marriage. To start with, I'm looking for my future husband, my playmate, my best friend.
Could that be you?
Could that be you? I hope it is, and go from there. Throughout the profile, even if someone lists what they're passionate about, what they enjoy doing during the day, it's always inviting the man in. Like, boy, it would be so much fun. I love hiking, but it'd be so much fun to do that with you. And when people talk about the man that they're looking for, sometimes they'll just list characteristics. You should be financially stable, emotionally available. You should be this. I need you to be this. Men want to be a woman's hero. So often a paragraph would start when you're listing the characteristics of what you want from a potential partner is, you will be my hero if you are emotionally available, and it really gives the idea that, wow, I can be someone's hero, and yes, I'm emotionally available, and yes, I'm trustworthy and loyal and all the things that someone would look, but it would be, you will be my hero. And when you talk about a relationship, our relationship will be this. So a man can actually visualize what it will be like, rather than a list of shoulds of how, what they have to live up to. But like when one talks about relationships, our relationship will be filled with unconditional love. It would be filled with wonderful conversation. We will support each other to be the best people we possibly can be on this planet. Just these wonderful bits that a man will keep saying yes to.
Simone's here.
Oh, hi.
Hi, Simone. But it's so important. Like, one of the things that Benjamin says that gets missed so often in profiles is that we're always trying to sell ourselves. We're trying to talk about, I'm this and I'm that, and I have fabulous friends and I've got this wonderful life. But a man who's reading a profile is reading it really from the perspective of what's in it for me.
Yes.
And so he wants to know if he's going to, get into a relationship. You can go on and on about how fabulous you are and all the wonderful things that you've accomplished in your life. But what he wants to know is, how is that going to benefit him? What are you,
Right.
If you get into a relationship with each other, what benefit is he going to get out of this, being with you? So it's great to say, hey, I've got a great group of friends, and we have a lot of fun, we're really tight, but we're always open to, a new boyfriend or a new person. And my friends will welcome you with open arms.
Right. And I'd love to meet your friends and your family.
Yeah.
Because a man wants to fit together. He doesn't want to have to fit in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And women can kind of, as women, we keep ourselves so busy, a lot of us, and we're going and doing and whatever. And a lot of men get overwhelmed because, there's so much of us. And it really, you often say, like Benjamin will often read a profile and he'll say, wow, she sounds great, but it doesn't sound like there's room in her life for a man. And what he means by that is what, baby? When you say that, what do you mean?
Well, if someone says, I love spending, I call my daughter twice a day. I see my friends 4 nights a week. We do this, we do these activities, and their life seems complete, filled with family and friends. And a guy doesn't want to walk through the door and suddenly be, in someone else's life. He doesn't want to feel like he's giving up part of his life to fit into someone else's life.
Yeah, I think a lot of men are in fear that they're going to be eclipsed by a woman, and that she's going to want him to fit into her life, and it's going to be overwhelming for him.
Right.
So a lot of profiles just, when you're too fabulous and there's too much and it's over the top, it's going to turn a lot of guys off because they want some downtime, or they want to just, time for the two of you, and they don't want to have to feel like they're going to have to constantly be going with your friends, and right.
So if a woman lists things that she's passionate about, that she really loves, like watching sunsets with a glass of wine in her hand, to add the phrase, and it would be so much more wonderful if you were there, or if I were holding your hand, or if we were snuggling together watching the sunset. So always bringing the man into the profile,
and always going back to, these are the things I love, and I'm totally open to to exploring the things that you enjoy doing. In fact, I would love it if you would turn me on to some things that excite you.
Right. When often people will say, I'm a lifelong learner. I love, TED Talks. I love NPR. I love, YouTube videos. Adding something like, and I'd love to know what you're interested in, and I'd love to learn from you. Men would love to be a teacher, and know that he has that role of being someone's teacher and being important and respected.
Yeah. And honey, what are some of the like, we kind of often laugh that every single profile that comes in has these things. And as a man, what we think is cute or funny or, going to be charming about us, some of these things that we think are funny or cute or adorable, really are going to make a man roll his eyes.
Right.
So what are some of those things, honey?
Often people will go into the food they like. Like I have a weakness for chocolate eclairs, or I have a weakness for chocolate. And a man doesn't really want to hear that. He doesn't want to, like someone might say, I'd love, pasta every night. And so really minimize the food conversation. And often women will, people writing profiles will have a very reasonable expectation. We want a man who's financially stable, who is masculine, who is independent, who is a leader and all that. And then in the same profile, she'll say, I look forward to us cooking together in the kitchen,
cuddling on the couch.
And also a cliche, not that one has to leave this out, but it's often listed as, I love to dance as if no one is watching. I love to dance in the kitchen. And I don't know how many men would really be attracted to that, because it's not a group effort. It's just like watching someone dance, but it's a very common, something that really wouldn't attract a man.
Yeah, or
but seems endearing to the person writing it, because it's something that they love to do.
Right. And you even said that's something else that's really like, men don't necessarily want to cuddle on the couch. Like, that's something that will happen in the course of a relationship, but it's not something a man aspires to. Like, he's not going to say, hey, babe, let's go cuddle on the couch together.
A man would respond to, enlisting a woman's characteristics, that she's sensuous, that touch is important, without being,
Sexual.
Yeah. And just that it's open to sensuality. And from that, his mind can expand on that. But if someone limits it to cuddling on the couch and cooking in the kitchen together, it's, most men, I mean, Lisa and I, we end our evening by cuddling on the couch. We watch TV. I stroke Lisa's hair and she'll fall asleep, and then we have to watch the same program twice.
I was just watching the last episode of Ted Lasso, because I slept through most of it.
It's almost every, when we have time, it's almost every evening. And
Simone says we should write, I like La Perla lingerie.
Exactly.
Now that's going to get them every time, Simone.
If actually someone were to put that in, like, I love watching sunsets. I love, cooking for my man. I'm particularly fond of La Perla lingerie. It's not sexual, but it just wakes a man up.
And why does it wake a man up, honey?
Because it stimulates his imagination. And it also creates a sense that there's an openness. Mm-hmm. That, it's like, it's not like, well, my idea of sensuality is cuddling on the couch. If a woman's likes La Perla lingerie or whatever it is, there's an expansion rather than a contraction of what the relationship can look like. And, a man really wants to know that he will be attracted to a woman and attractive to a woman, as the years go by. And if someone is interested in pleasing a man, which is what lingerie is about, it's really important to a man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's also, something that Benjamin said in his profile, and is really true, is that it's okay to turn off 90% of the people out there. If it's not what you want, you're looking for not an inbox full of people, but you're really wanted in many ways to filter out, as many people as possible that are really wrong for you.
And I would make one correction. I didn't write it to filter out 90%. I wrote it to filter out 98%.
Oh.
I had written a profile, and I'd never been online, and Lisa and I met over 18 years ago online. And I had a secretary an assistant that urged me to go online. And so I wrote a profile, and it sounded like everyone else, like attractive, this, educated, it was just, and I looked at it, and I put it up for a while, and I felt humiliated, because I felt like everyone else's profile. We were all selling ourselves. And I realized that I really wanted to say who I was and who I wasn't, and what I wanted, and also what I didn't want. And so I took my profile down and spent maybe 3 weeks and saw a current therapist I was seeing, visited a past therapist to make sure I wasn't leaving anything out. Because let's say that I really didn't want kids, but I found the perfect woman, but she had 2 young children. It would be a deal breaker. And so I wanted to really say these deal breakers up front. So, we don't learn about it on the 3rd date, and it doesn't end like a train wreck, So, filtering out 98%. So the 2% that wind up in your inbox, and there'll be a lot that, it worked for me.
I was his third date. So yeah. So I'm going to read a little bit of Benjamin's profile. This is what he had written.
Is this what I put up a couple weeks ago, or the one 18 years
ago? the one from yesterday. This is the one that's hottest off the press. Whoops. Did I lose everybody? Let's see here. I have minimized all of my screens. There we go. So I'll read you. Simone says she doesn't want flip-flops and a Hawaiian shirt. Debbie said there's a lot of fish in the sea, but the water's polluted.
Right.
Uh-huh. Yep. And Lisa says, great, you decided to go online, Benjamin. Thank you, Lisa. So this is what Benjamin wrote. I think that this is really nice.
Might as well read the whole thing.
Why are we recording that? Okay. So this is what Benjamin had written. Do you want me to read it?
Sure.
Okay. So he says, so this was a JDate profile. So this is what was he wrote for JDate. So the prompts and all the things were for that. So this was their structure. So the first thing that so more about me. I realized that it is more important to receive one response from a deeply compatible person than to try to get many responses where we may be mismatched. I sincerely want you to know who I am. I am an honest, down-to-earth, caring person and try to live my life with integrity and gratitude. I consider myself to be a loyal friend, playful, affectionate, sensual, and spiritual. I love to laugh and I have a positive outlook on life. I work out regularly and staying in good shape is important to me. I am inspired and dedicated to what I do, which is in the field of physical therapy. I am successful in my profession. I teach internationally and I have co-authored several books. I love being with someone. I love going to plays, concerts, and movies. I love great restaurants that are comfortable and quiet enough to have wonderful conversation. I enjoy hanging out, reading together, watching a video, and going for walks. Notice how simple these things are. I also love romping with my dog. That line jumped out to me. Going for frozen yogurt and connecting with all the senses. So he mentions these very simple pleasures, and then he really shows his depth by saying and connecting with all the senses. The person that I would like to meet has a rich and fulfilling life already with the missing piece of relationship. Someone who has a profound desire to share in intimacy, deep honesty, and passionate heart-to-heart contact. The person that I would like to meet would possess an inner and outer beauty. I would like to meet a woman who has an old soul and a young heart. Someone who is intelligent, has diverse interests, is open-minded, and has a twisted sense of humor. So notice again, like these very, normal things, and then a twisted sense of humor for a little bit of a surprise. Someone who has a sense of independence, playfulness, sensuality, and is not afraid to open her heart. A woman who is as attentive to her spiritual health as to her physical health. A woman who, as I do, cherishes intimacy and cherishes alone time. I am looking for a lover.
The important qualities.
The important qualities I look for in a person, whether they're friends or lovers, are integrity, values, and attitude. But most of all, she must have a good and kind soul. I am looking for a lover and best friend, growing together and experiencing life while keeping our own identity at the same time. And although it may be excluding some extraordinary persons, I would absolutely want someone with no children or who has children that are grown. So he's very specific there, knowing that that is going to eliminate a lot of people. And then they ask, what would be your idea of a perfect first date? The perfect first date would be a wonderful, sweet opportunity to meet each other and see if our rhythms match. something that is casual and comfortable, the surroundings quiet enough to allow for good conversation. We would get beyond the initial jitters and get lost in great conversation. There would be a sense that time had stopped, and we would find that everyone else in the restaurant had already left.
Second date.
That was our second date. A perfect first date is when we are still thinking about the date hours and days later. And then they ask my perception of an ideal relationship. My perception of an ideal relationship is where both people are guardians of each other's souls, supporting one another to develop individually and evolving together as a couple. I see relationship as an opportunity to explore partnership and passion. So he's asking for passion, right? For partnership, but also passion, including sexual passion, which is kind of inherent in that statement. It is the best path to grow in understanding, compassion, and love, where both individuals are desiring to love themselves as well as each other. Other words that come to mind when I think of an ideal relationship are trust, open communication, sexual chemistry, mutual respect, a shared sense of humor, honesty, patience, and playfulness. I seek a relationship. Now take note of this, whoever's listening. I seek a relationship that is fully committed and monogamous in a unique way. It is important that I share how much I love alone time. I've learned from life experience that for me, even in an intimate, committed relationship, there is a balance of being together and being separate that works for me. I realize it would be relatively hard to find the right person because I am not looking for a live-in full-time relationship.
This has come back to bite me in the butt. For 18 years. It's come back to bite me in the butt.
We don't really live together. We're still working that one out. I'm looking for someone who prefers a portion of the week together and, like me, would look forward to their alone time. And after some decades of trying to change my nature to fit into a conventional form of relationship, I am simply embracing who I am and what I am looking for. I know that this may be like looking for a needle in a haystack. I know this is not what most people want. And I know that this may come back with 0 responses. We'll see. This is what I've learned from my past relationships. I've learned a lot from loving, therapy, mistakes, and common sense. One thing is to be honest with myself and clear in my communication with my partner. It is just as important to hear the other person as it is to be heard. Kindness, compassion, and lovingness are the most important things and should always be honored. It is important for both to stay current with each other, even if there is no perfect time to sit down and talk. I have learned that relationship is a living thing and must always be tended. Finding ways to keep passion burning, communications open, and love alive. To give each other freedom to be ourselves, respect and cherish each other's uniqueness and individually, and most importantly, be as kind and loving as possible. And that is Benjamin's profile. So look at how long it was. That was 3 pages, 2 pages, 2 full pages.
It worked.
And it worked. Now, the odd thing, the funniest thing is he actually had cut and paste response.
Right. Efficient.
He was efficient. So he didn't, he actually had responses that he wrote ahead of time. And if he liked somebody, he didn't have time to sit there and craft responses to everybody. And so he had 2 yeses.
Cut and paste.
And then he had 3 different no responses.
Right. I responded to everyone because I didn't want to ghost anyone, even if they responded to me.
So that was, yes, So, hi, Wendy. It's good to see you. Elisa says the most important thing is that he proves all that when you get to know him. Many guys lie, but that sounds sincere. Well, the truth is, Elisa, there's a ring of truth. Nobody could write a profile like the one that Benjamin wrote. Like that, there's just that it's full of sincerity and honesty and transparency. That there was, you can hear it, and you can hear that this man is just all heart. So yeah, I mean, it's very obvious. Tosh says, I feel like the phrase down to earth gets used out of context in a lot of profiles. What does down to earth mean in your opinion?
Down to earth means that someone has found their natural frequency. I think each person has, and it can change over the years, but each person has a frequency that is a natural frequency for them. They're not trying to be above it or below it, but they just live in their body. They live in their natural frequency. And it could look different for each person. Down to earth could be someone who is calm, but also someone who's excited, as long as they're in their natural frequency.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And just down to earth means that they're real. Mm-hmm. Somebody who's real, and they're not, a narcissist. They're not full of themselves. They're just humble and grounded.
Yeah, they're not acting outside of their natural.
But I don't think, when Benjamin talks about natural frequency, what does that mean to you, babe?
Well, it means that someone has really found, it's like the marble that finds the groove, that I think we can spend decades trying to find our groove, who we are, who we're not, and what we want, what we don't want in life. And when we're comfortable with that, that's our natural frequency. Like, we're not trying to override it by being more energetic or putting on humor when we don't feel funny, allowing ourselves emotions when we feel them. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, beautiful. I like that. I can see how the two of you match. So here's what was really amazing, was that if you were to read my profile and you were to read Benjamin's profile, there is a lot of resonance. I mean, I didn't have the ability. Benjamin's really a writer. He has a very poetic soul. One of the things that he does in these profiles is, when he writes these really brilliant profiles, what's so beautiful is that they're very visual. He wants people to feel they're sensual, and they're visual, and the way that he uses words, there's just a tone and a feeling to the language that is, that really speaks to someone's soul. That's not, he doesn't write to engage someone's head. He's speaking to their heart, and you feel it in his, in his profile. Mine wasn't quite as well written, but there was a lot of resonance in our profiles. It's getting hot in here.
Right. Yours started, there once was a girl from Los Feliz. It was just a 4-line profile.
Yeah. Well, Wendy, he is very expressive with his reality. When I read that profile, I just, the part about, I don't know, I read what he said about relationship and stuff, but it just spoke so much to my heart. A lot of women, he got letters from women saying, why are you even on a dating site? If you don't really want a relationship and you want to live separately. And people actually, some women got upset with you, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
but they weren't the 2%.
Well, and you got what you bargained for. Yeah, it really was a match. And if you put our profiles side by side, you can see that there was a lot of resonance in them. Mine was much shorter and funny, but there was a lot of resonance. So it's okay to really speak your truth, and it's okay to, turn away 98% of the people out there if you get that 2% that really is what you're looking for, and aren't turned away by your truth, right? Like Benjamin did write his truth, but it didn't turn me off. Jeanette says, I just hope that working with you will teach me how to be open to men who are this emotionally available. I would have ran from it in the past. Yeah, Jeanette, it's easy to run away. I would have run away from a man like Benjamin. And, it wasn't, if I'm being very honest, and I told him this, I said, it was really scary for me when, he was intimidating to me. He was so intimidating. If you could believe, this guy was so intimidating. But
in what way?
Because you're so real, and it's like that saying that love brings up everything unlike itself to be healed. When you're staring, when you're looking in, into a clean, like a clear mirror, then all of your insecurities, everything, your inadequacies come up, so I could see the ways in which I still wasn't evolved and that I still had work to do. And I wondered, if we got into a relationship, if I would be ready for a man like you, and you were everything I ever wanted, everything I had been looking for. And I thought, when you're, I don't know, when you're sitting, you're sitting in front of everything that you've been asking for. And then what if you're up, are you up to it? And if I blew this, how many more Benjamins would ever come along in my lifetime?
And my desire to live separately like melted, like almost immediately. We bought a house. We met, bought a house within a year, and got married a year after that, just because we didn't find the house. We didn't really have time to have a proper wedding.
So, we had the best wedding in the world.
Oh, I know. We eventually did.
There was no, we had the perfect wedding for us, and it didn't matter, I was so happy just to be marrying this man. We could have done it anywhere. It wouldn't have mattered. It was just, I was so happy to become Mrs. Benjamin Shield. It was amazing. Yeah, no, it was really beautiful. Wendy says, sometimes honesty will take away all the fluff. And isn't that what we truly want? But timing is everything. It is, but, it is. And we both, what was beautiful was both of us had done so much work on ourselves. I think we had both been 8 years of doing interpersonal work. You with Robert, and me with all of my programs and courses and things, so that, Benjamin's 9 years older than me. So I knew I had some growing up to do. But I also knew that, that he was so kind. And, one of the things I've learned since is that, if you look at the number one quality that people are looking for in a partner is kindness. Mm-hmm. And I had never known that, but I would have, Jeanette, to what Jeanette had said, I would have, you would have been too kind and too, I would not have been able to really see who you are earlier in my life. I would have thought, oh, he's so nice, I could walk all over him. And don't think for a second you can walk all over this guy. I don't get very far.
In a profile, if I list characteristics one after another, I'll often put kind first. And because people want someone who's kind more than adventurous, more than stylish.
Yeah.
They want someone kind, someone who they could be in their arms and be accepted and also what I put in profiles is that there's going to be a lot of fun. and a lot of laughter. And that's what hooked me with Lisa on our first date. You know, what did you say?
Well, he may have asked me what I was looking for or what I wanted in a relationship. And I said,
I think I asked what you wanted, but I was referring to the menu. You 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 completely misinterpreted it.
Women.
What do you want?
Right. But I said, what I said was, I have been working so hard on myself. And I said, I'm done working hard. All I want to do is find a wonderful man and I want to have fun, And what I meant by that was that, really had been making things hard work. So, when I was doing all my personal growth work, it felt hard and it was tedious. And you know, um, it was so painful and so serious, doing all that work. Well, I've since learned it doesn't have to be. There's a wonderful saying from A Course in Miracles that you can learn through pain or you can learn through joy. We all have a choice, but we're going to learn no matter what. And what I realized it was, I was ready to learn through joy. I didn't want to suffer. I didn't want to be attached to my misery and suffering. And I realized that it didn't have to be hard work. And I was ready for lightness and playfulness and fun and partnership. And Benjamin just thought that was the most beautiful thing he'd ever heard.
Right. Because I'd done a lot of work, and I think most men don't enter a relationship wanting to process, and
put a frame around that, ladies.
Actually, instead of putting a frame, put one of those international circles with a diagonal through it.
Yeah. Shanice says, how do you two incorporate individualism and getting enough alone time while living together? I love my alone time too, so I can identify with that.
Well, in my profile, I had even suggested separate residencies. And so when we bought this house, I'm a type of physical therapist, and we turned the garage into my treatment room. And Lisa completely helped me outfit it with television,
a microwave,
a refrigerator, a microwave. It would be like my man cave, and within about 3 weeks, I got rid of the refrigerator, the microwave, the TV, and because I didn't need it, because Lisa just gave me space, and what I thought that I needed physically, she gave me, emotionally, through caring. She'd know when I needed alone time or just being silent together.
But Shanice, the other thing too is, I think what Benjamin really was guarded against was not that he didn't want somebody around or close by. If I were to say what he didn't want was neediness and clinging and somebody trying to control him to get her own needs met. So, I'm not needy. I'm not clingy. If he needs to go away to teach for a month and he wants to fly to Europe and, just go from city to city teaching for an entire month, and he doesn't invite me to meet him there or come along with him, I respect that that's his time and that's what he needs to do. And I don't get, why didn't you invite me? And don't you want to spend time with me? And, I just say, go and do what you need to do. And, but I'm not clingy. I'm not needy. I don't hold on tight. And I'm very spacious. So, yeah.
And on a micro level, that I need time to process the day. Like at the end of the day, I either have to catch up with the day or let the day catch up with me. I'll see a lot of clients, maybe 8 or 9 in a day, and you hear stories and people come in with a lot of pain. And it's just, there's not a time to integrate it during the day. Mm-hmm. And without that time to integrate it at the end of the day, just like, a moment just over the kitchen sink, eating grapes or, whatever it is, That's important to me.
Yeah, and he'll go in the kitchen, and I know that he needs time in the kitchen just to be by himself and not be disturbed. And, if I happen to walk into the kitchen and I see him, I stop and I walk back out and I give him space. I can tell. Or if I go in and I ask him a question and I see that, a look in his eyes and I realize it was the wrong time, I will literally say, whoops. And and I don't care. It could be the most important thing in the world or something superficial. If I see in his eyes that it just isn't the right time to ask that question, his happiness and his needs are just the most important thing for me. And he would do the same for me. We don't take things personally for the most part. We can see in each other's face or eyes or expression, if we need something, and we just give it to each other.
And we make the container big enough. So are you making the container big enough for me and my quirks? Is that, Benjamin needs time at the end of the day, just, to kind of meditate. Just
do you
spare off?
Do you need that?
just learning.
Yeah.
So staring off in the distance.
Wendy asked what you really didn't like about your past relationships.
Well, first, some of it was me that I didn't like. I think I learned from good relationships, and I learned even more from bad relationships.
And from therapy.
Yeah, and from therapy. So, part of it was me, but part of it was there just seemed to be contention or, different wants. My relationship just prior to Lisa lasted 2 years, and it should have lasted a year, because after a year, it was very clear that she wanted children, and it was very clear that I came to the decision that I didn't.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but I would say, rather than thinking about the other person, a lot of it was me, that I wasn't ready. And with each relationship, with each, even short ones, I learned something about me. I learned something about being with another person.
Yeah, they're growing experiences. Yeah, and you get clearer and clearer about who you are and what you want and what you don't want. And yeah. So Lenny said that it's truly being in tune with one another, and being in tune, Lenny, and wanting for each other's, the single most important thing in the world to me, is my husband's happiness and fulfillment. I just want him to feel happy and fulfilled and comfortable, in this relationship at all times. And like he says, we have to make the container big enough for both of us. And there is room for both of us. Why not? Why not? It doesn't have to be about me all the time. It can be about Benjamin, once in a while. Every once in a while, Benjamin can have the spotlight. No, in my heart, he always has the spotlight. And I think in his heart, I do,
right.
And we never feel like we're sacrificing for what, like we get so much joy out of making each other happy and fulfilled. Yeah, it's really a joy. Shanice says, love that way of coexisting. Yeah, we really do. And we're not petty, something if somebody were to say, other than not taking things personally, like what makes our relationship really work, I think that Benjamin and I are never petty with each other. We don't get into petty arguments about things that just don't matter. Megan, I don't know if you're still here, but I know you had asked a question and I wanted to answer this. You said that you've been with your boyfriend now for 1 year and 4 months, and he said that you're a sex freak, but you only have sex once a week and on the weekend, and now it's been 1 month with no sex. Megan, first of all, these go out out online. So I'm going to just delete the comment and I'll address it, but I wouldn't want any of your friends or people to see it. What I would say is this. Usually what happens in relationships when sex starts to go away is that there's fighting or there's emotional distancing. And what happens is as women, we forget one very, very important thing about men. When a man is single and he's in pursuit mode and he's pursuing women and he's, proving himself, it may be very easy for men to get aroused sexually because they're pursuing and they're into the chase and all. But I saw this very often. I used to coach many, many, many couples, and I saw this all the time with my couples. When a couple is having problems and there's fighting and arguing and all, and a man doesn't feel emotionally safe with his partner, it can be very, very hard for him to get an erection. He starts to feel emasculated and inadequate, and he just can't get turned on. And when a man can't get an erection, it is really humiliating for him.
And sometimes it has happened in a prior relationship, and he carries that baggage into a wonderful relationship, but he's carrying that baggage, that fear.
Yeah. So, it doesn't take much. And I think so many women were very quick to say, oh, men just want sex. And, but once they're in a relationship and the emotional side of it, the emotional connection, if that gets damaged or harmed, if you're fighting or arguing, it can be very, very, very difficult for a man to feel masculine and powerful and get an erection, even if you touch him, even if you turn him on. In fact, it's the opposite. And if he can't get an erection, or if he gets up in his head and he loses his erection, it's really embarrassing. I know it's tragic, but I know couples where, one time something happened and the man couldn't perform sexually, and that's the end of the whole sexual relationship.
Right. And I think rather than saying men just want to have sex, men want to prove their masculinity. And they also want to make a woman gratified. And that's really why a man wants to have sex.
But women, I think as women, we see it as, oh, men just want us for sex and men are just after sex. That's how we view it. Yeah. I think what you said, with good men, like men who are not just sexualizing women or seeing us as sexual objects, but with good men like you, these are, that's.
I think with almost all men want their masculinity mirrored back to them. And, with intimacy, that's mirrored back to them. Yeah. But very possibly someone could be entering a relationship with fear, past relationships, past performances.
One of the things I really work on with my female clients in my course is helping them understand how sensitive men are, how kind, how sweet they are, and when a man is in love and he really wants to please you sexually and otherwise, and he can't, it's really, you could speak to that, honey. It's really hard.
Yeah. I mean, well, you said it. Yeah.
So I think sometimes as women, we get so angry and frustrated and disappointed by men and the men in our lives that, we carry that over into our relationships, and then we project that onto our boyfriends or our husbands or our partners, and a lot of men feel inadequate when they feel like they can't make us happy. So Faye says, I was seeing a guy for a few months, great chemistry and connection, but then I seriously betrayed him. He says he forgives me. Do you think there's hope in repairing the relationship, or is it over for good?
Well, it could make the relationship, I don't mean to be Pollyannish about this, but it could make the relationship stronger. I found with friends of mine who were thinking of going outside their primary relationship, that when they discussed it with their partner, it made the relationship stronger because something may have been missing that they were looking outside the relationship. So there's the potential of making it much stronger than what, like a bone that gets broken, it heals stronger than it was to begin with. And so there's, that possibility if it's handled with caring and honesty.
I think the hardest thing is, I know when I was young, I had all these ideals about how relationships should be, and these expectations around monogamy, and how partners were supposed to show up for each other and all. And as I've gotten older and wiser, I know, and been through a divorce and all, and had my heart broken, I realized that we're all human. We make mistakes. And as Benjamin says, there's no such thing as a straight line. We can want to do our very best. And then sometimes we all falter, we all make mistakes. And I've found that I'm not just, I'm more forgiving with myself, and I'm also more forgiving with other people and with men. And so it's made things easier for me to know that I remember once Benjamin said to me, I'd never been unfaithful in a relationship, and I couldn't anticipate, the circumstances under which I would be, but I'm human, and anything any other person could do, I could do. He said I couldn't conceive of it, but I'm not, I'm not above anyone, so I don't know what those circumstances would be that would lead me to do something like that. But I couldn't ever say that that it would never happen. And I think that that's the more honest answer, that, I wound up in a relationship with a married man, and I had asked him point blank, are you married? And he told me that he wasn't. He lied to me. But then once I found out that he was married, I still continued the relationship when I should have cut it off immediately. So, I would never have conceived of being in a relationship like that or doing that myself. And yet when I was there, and once I was in it, and I was emotionally attached, I should have cut it off immediately. And I would never have thought that I would have continued the relationship.
And with infidelity, I think that forgiving ourselves is primary before anything. And then realizing, is there something missing in the primary relationship? There may not be. But if there is, it really opens the door to make the relationship deeper and stronger.
Yeah. Yeah. And I've seen that happen. And if you read, if you follow Esther Perel, she talks a lot about that, in Mating in Captivity and all that, being able to have monogamy, if you got married at 27 and being monogamous through all those years and all those ups and downs, and, the thought of that, like nobody ever expected that we'd live as long as we do, so relationships go through many seasons.
And I like what Hemingway said. He said, life breaks all of us, but sometimes the part that was broken becomes stronger than it was before. So sometimes if there's a break, it can become stronger than it was before.
Yeah. So Karen said, this will be our last question, but can a man who is emotionally attached to a woman and feels she is the right one wait to have a sexual relationship until both decide it's the right relationship for each of them.
Oh, yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
We did.
Yeah.
In fact, Benjamin was the one who said to me, what did you say, babe?
Well, I felt that this was really leading to something. And I've been in too many relationships where I became a lover before I became friends with the person. And it just puts everything upside down. It puts everything on its head, where now you have to go back and establish a friendship, but you're pretending you're lovers. It doesn't work. So establishing that friendship and making sure it's the right relationship, it's great. And then, depending on the person and the couple, making sure you're compatible and all of that, is important before, you know.
Yeah. So Benjamin said to me, like on our fifth date, we were, he said, I really like you and I really want to get to know you. And I'm not rushing into anything, including sex. I've done that before and it just doesn't work. So, it was really sweet that, and I said, that's wonderful because I'm on the same page. And we waited a good while.
Mm-hmm.
And we remember every single date, Karen, leading up to that. We really built up the passion and the love and the affection and all. Yeah.
I think it's the most exciting part of a relationship, the part
Mm-hmm.
before the two people have sex.
Yeah.
It's that anticipation, that courtship, that limerence.
Yeah, it was amazing. Thank you to everybody. Thank you, Jennifer. It was our pleasure. Thanks to everybody. Lenny, it was great to see you. And Lisa, thank you for all showing up. And Barry and Shanice and Wendy, Judy. There's so many wonderful, people that I see coming on the calls. Elitza, over and over again. Tosh, you all make these calls and it's so wonderful to see all of you. And for anyone who has not seen my webinar, go to lisashield.com. It's 45 minutes and I put my heart and soul into this. It's really, people who have seen it, many people have said it's the best webinar they've ever seen. So, there is real love out there. There's true love. There's everything you could ever want in a partner and more. And don't give up, keep going because it's out there. You can find a guardian of your soul. Thanks for coming on, babe.
You're welcome. It's fun. Thank you.
Good night, everybody. Bye-bye.